Okay, Shalom Aleichem, friends. We're continuing in Sefer Chofetz Chaim Yomi. We're learning the Hakdama. This is our fourth session in the Hakdama. Hakdama part 4. In my edition, it's page Daled. Va'achashva lada'asois. I contemplated to know this. May ayin nasa halav hazeh hefger kol kach le'inei b'nei adam. How did this lav just become hefger? I mean, people would not even eat kitnias. People would not even eat taruvos chametz. People would not even think about chametz. And yet, Lashon Harah, not only is it contemplated, not only is it thought about, not only is it violated, it's as if it doesn't exist. V'hisplainanti, says the Chofetz Chaim, I recognized and I understood shezeu mekamasivus. There are many reasons for this. Lehamoin mitzad echad ulhaloimdim mitzad acher. For the multitude, there's one reason. For the learned, another reason. The multitude, they don't know that Lashon Harah is usher, even if it's true. No, he's not so smart. He's not so smart. Well, what's wrong with that? It's true. He's not so smart. People don't know that you're not allowed to speak Lashon Harah if it's true. And for the learned people, even to those that it's clear to, and it's true to, that the Isra Lashon Harah is even if it's true, yesh mehem kama, there are many, sheyetzer hara mata oisam befanim acherim. There are those that the Yetzer Hara persuades them in other ways. Echad, number one, shetekef machshiv hayetzer hara b'rayonav es ha'ish shu mesaper alav l'chaynev. The Yetzer Hara convinces you that about such a person there's no prohibition of Lashon Harah, because this guy, he's a flatterer. In other words, the Yetzer Hara allows you to think that because this guy does not subscribe to your brand of Judaism, therefore you could just wipe the floor with him by speaking Lashon Harah, because he's obviously not a Mamin B'Hashem if he doesn't wear the same color socks or yarmulke as you do. So it's a mitzvah to speak Lashon Harah about these terrible people who don't subscribe to my version. Sometimes the Yetzer Hara says to you, this guy, he only starts fights. You're allowed to speak Lashon Harah about him. Sometimes the Yetzer Hara persuades you with the hefter. Well, 3 people know about it already, so it's well known. Look, it's in the newspaper. Everybody knows this guy went to jail. Why can't I say it? Or sometimes the Yetzer Hara persuades you. Well, I would even say it in his presence. You muster up the audacity at the time you're speaking, that you would say even in his face. And the Yetzer Hara all of a sudden makes you a big Talmud Chacham to remember all the loopholes that you think apply to this scenario. Sometimes the Yetzer Hara persuades you in the quality of the matter. Sometimes the Yetzer Hara says, well, the type of words I'm saying is not really included in Lashon Harah. Regarding what is common about many people in our many sins, to publicize about someone that he's not too bright. Here's the upshot. The Yetzer Hara works in one of 2 ways. Either he persuades you that the subject matter is not included in Lashon Harah, or he persuades you that about such a guy, the Torah never commanded Lashon Harah. Either what I'm saying, what's the big deal that I'm saying he's not smart or he's not honest, or what's the big deal? I'm talking about this guy. This guy is this kind of Jew. You could talk Lashon Harah about that kind of Jews. If the Yetzer Hara sees that none of these tactics are working, he persuades you the opposite. he is so stringent in your mind about Lashon Hara, he makes you think like this. The Yetzer Hara says to you, hey, Rabbi, listen up. You're really going to keep the laws of Lashon Hara? Then you can't talk. You'll have to take a Tainis Dibor for the rest of your life. Otherwise, you can't talk. Ad shemaraloi shehakol nichnas b'chal Lashon Hara, until he shows you that everything is incorporated in the Isser Lashon Hara. Vim kein yevshar lios chaye tevel be'inyan zeh. And the Yetzer Hara says it is impossible to live a mortal earthly life unless you completely abandon regular human behavior. So in other words, what the Yetzer Hara does is, come on, these rules are not serious, because if they were, you couldn't even breathe. Breathing was Lashon Hara, the Yetzer Hara says. The Yetzer Hara says, if being alive is Lashon Hara. So obviously, you got to be alive, so you got to speak Lashon Hara. Similar to what the snake said, Hashem told you, Chava, you're not to eat any of the fruits. And once Chava said any of the fruits, that's not possible to keep. It's like the words of the slimy, stealthily conniving snake. Sha'amar af ki amar Elokim lo yisaychlu mikol eitz hagan. Even God said not to eat from any of the fruit. Ulavadze, aside from these reasons, chasera laharbe anoshim, it is lacking to many people, yediya, a knowledge, be'inyan iser kabbalas lashon hara, regarding the iser of accepting lashon hara, she'yisurayhu afilu lahamin balev lavad, that its iser is even to believe in the heart. Rak lachosh mibai. In other words, if someone tells you lashon hara, you cannot accept it as fact. You can only suspect. Void harbe inyanim keyotze, or many similar things. Be'inyan kabbalas lashon hara or achilas, regarding accepting lashon hara or achilas, ashar I efshar levar ampai, that it is impossible to explain here. Va'af enom yoidim, people don't know ich lasaken es hadavar, how to rectify im avar al isur sipur lashon hara, if you violated lashon hara or achilas v'kabbalasan. Umitzad elu asibais, for these reasons, nismoited ha'inyan mikal v'chal, the whole topic crumbled. In other words, the Yetzer Hara says, you're allowed to speak this kind of Lashon Hara, you're allowed to speak about this kind of guy, or the whole inyan nobody could really keep. The whole thing is just a chumrah, because otherwise you can't live and you can't breathe. Basically, people have accustomed themselves, whatever they think, they say. They have no filter. Not to even develop a habit to contemplate. Maybe this matter is included in the Yisr V'chilas Lashon Hara. V'horgalnu kol kach ba'avayin zeh. People are so habitual in this sin, ba'avanasin arabim, ad shemibnei zeh, that because of this, be'enei harbe b'nei adam, ein davar zeh nechshav l'avayin klal. Then the eyes of many people, this is not a sin at all. Afilu im yidaber davar shenir la'kol shulashon hara chilas gemura. You can have a guy that speaks outright, blatant lashon hara. He says bad about his friend, he puts him down. He says, this friend of mine, this guy is a lo yutzlach, shlamazel, shlemiel, Russia. And you could go over to the guy. You could go over to the guy. A second. And you could say, why do you say this? How could you say this? If somebody asks him, why did you speak Lashon Hara Rechilas? Yachshav b'libai, the person who you said this to will think in his heart, Shuhu bala soisei tzadik v'chased, that you're just coming to act like a super righteous guy. What are you bothering me? Why are you so machmir? He will not accept the words of the rebuker at all. Bashar shuraya shadavar hazehefkar. In his mind, Lashon Hara is just a chumrah. Lashon Hara is like, gebruxt. It's a minhag. Some people have a minhag that they don't speak Lashon Hara. Bavnosina Rabim. He sees the matter as hefker. Bashar Shurayish Shadavar has a hefker Bavnosina Rabim. V'chol elu hasibos, all of these reasons. Ikramhu, the main causes, mitzad shalei niskabetz b'makom echad, because it is not collected in one place. Inyan lashon hara urachilas, the concept of lashon hara urachilas, sheyisboyer boy echusam ve'inyanam b'chlaleim ufratem, that should be explained qualitatively, all the principles, all the specifics. Aval hey mefuzarim b'shas v'rishayim. You know why nobody knows anything about Lashon Hara? Because until you get to Masechta Eruvin, you're not learning it in elementary, you're not learning it in high school. Maybe if you learn Daf Yomi, you'll get to it once every 7 years, provided you're there on that day. If you miss that Daf in Eruvin, then you'll never hear one word about Lashon Hara. Vafilu Harambam, the Parak Zayin Hilchos Deos, even the Rambam in the 7th chapter of Hilchos Deos, Rabbeinu Yoina b'Shari Tshuva, Shehem Asulanu Derech Slula b'Halachazu, they made for us a paved path in this halacha. Afal Pikein Kitzru Ma'oid. Nevertheless, they have been very concise, kedarkon shel rishonim, as is the way and the practice of the early authorities. V'gam yesh harbe v'harbe dinim shaloi ba b'divreim, and there are many, many dinim that we don't find in their words. Kasher yira haraya b'fnim hasefer, as the reader will see in the sefer, that there are many things that are found in the sefer that do not appear in the words of the rishonim. Okay, Rabbi says, so that is this learning is for Shabbos. Probably we'll have one on Matzoi Shabbos, and we'll see if we may have to do one or two on Sunday. Have a good Shabbos, everyone. Bracha v'atzlacha.